Hi, this is Devorah Katz from chalacrumbs.com. So happy to be tag teaming it with Adina Sokoloff from Parenting Simply, talking about, the 10 commandments of child raising. I'm going to add a little bit of a different twist. Before we begin, my thanks, of course, to the OU for sponsoring this event, and for all of you who are giving up their lunch hour, or alternately, or just eating lunch while listening to me and Adina talk on and on. I guess for me, we're going to be talking about Shavuot and a couple of things that you can do to sort of usher the holiday in the most child-friendly way, sort of encouraging kids and finding the teachable moments throughout Shavuot that you can use with your kids. I always talk about the lead up into a holiday, and here, actually, my job is done for me. Because we have Sfirat HaOmer, because we're counting literally every single day until we reach Shavuot, we sort of have this built-in, easy way to remember the excitement of Shavuot. Friends of mine are throwing a bar mitzvah, and I pointed out to them that if you buy milk today, it will expire after the bar mitzvah is over. So this is a very exciting idea of anticipation. We're sort of looking forward to things. I remember as a child taking a book out of the library and being ecstatic to discover that by the time the due date arrived, I would have already turned a year older. So built into us, hardwired within us, even as adults, but let's put it over to the younger generation, built in within us as children is this this joy that we have of anticipation. We're always looking forward to something. And actually, one of the criticisms that the younger generation gets is that it's a younger generation of instant gratification. Perhaps you've noticed this with your children. They want what they want the minute that they want it. And everything seems defined by the last 30 seconds. Often I'll say to my husband, we had this great day with the kids. All in, very involved, basketball outside, barbecue, whatever it is. But whatever happened in the last 30 seconds, that seems to be what matters to the kids. Can't think in a bigger picture. Yet here we really have this concept of looking forward to something, right? We're looking forward to Shavuot. We're looking forward to Chag Matan Torah, to the time that the Torah was given, and we are going to get excited about it with our kids. So there are many ways that we can do that. Obviously, we want to count Sfirat HaOmer with the kids, but I would say putting our expectations where they should be. It is definitely hard to remember to count Sfirat, to count all 49 days with your kids. Here are a couple of ideas how to be successful. One idea would be to buy glass paint, the things that you can paint on your windows with and that it easily wipes off. So I like, but I do not do, so let me be honest there. I really like the idea of having one kid write the number of Sfira on the window in the kitchen every night. So the kids are looking at the window. Now I'm inspired. I feel like I should run out and buy a glass marker. I might. But I love this idea of, especially with younger kids who fall asleep before we can count Sfira and then wake up. And then I love this idea of every day they come down and they see what number it is on the kitchen window, right? It doesn't do anything to your kitchen window. It's that paint that wipes right off. And you can easily use it. And if you don't change the number in the morning, why don't you change it at dinner time so that the kids feel that they are part of the process? One kid can have the job each week, feeling very special about himself or herself. And that is a visual way to remember Sfirat HaOmer. One of my favorite ideas, which we did a number of years ago, which I actually stole from my neighbor, was that she built a huge mountain. She drew a mountain, and I don't remember how she did it, with Post-its, I think. She wrote the numbers all the way up the mountain, like leading up the mountain, so that I'm going to do a little drawing for you right now. I'm feeling it. It's not very hard. She drew a mountain like this, with sort of this S shape leading up to the top to Matan Torah. And I actually think that I put a Torah up on the top. Really don't judge the drawing. Or judge it and laugh at me. She drew a pathway up to the Torah. All along the pathway were numbers. So, you'd have to space it out better. And you can actually do this. So what I would recommend is using a big sheet of Bristol board or oak tag, drawing the mountain, sticking on the Post-its, all the way up with the numbers 1 through 49, all the way up at the top with Shavuot up at the top. So in this way, again, you rip off a number you rip off a Post-it representing the number every single day as you climb up this mountain, Har Sinai, to reach Matan Torah. So again, it's this great way for kids to first of all, understand what it means. We don't do it well because we don't have a lot of Jewish commercials, but this anticipation for Christmas is really the thread that I hold on to here. This, you can't imagine when it's going to get there. So we want to give the kids some kind of excitement that they're reaching Shavuot. The idea that this is when the Torah was given is an exciting idea. I'm not sure how tangible an idea it is. So you want to make it something that is very real to them. So for younger kids, I would say, pulling off the numbers or writing the numbers or making sure to count the numbers, that's something significant. For older kids, I would talk about this idea perhaps of chesed and doing acts of kindness leading up to Matan Torah, right? The Jews also had a time period where they were getting ready to get the Torah. And so here we have the ability also to sort of, on a personal level, to get ourselves ready to receive the Torah again. You can talk to older kids about what they would work on in themselves, in the bigger picture, helping others to sort of prepare themselves for this moment. It's this very nice idea. And when Adina talks about, the 10 laws, commandments of good parenting, one of the things that I would say is you really want to come to your kids where they're at. And I found that time and time again, reaching my child where he or she is in that moment is the most successful way to parent. For me. And maybe not for everyone else. So you want to find out what it is that your kid is talking about, what is significant to your kid, and sort of piggyback onto that. So I would say most recently, my 12-year-old, almost 13-year-old son, I watched with him. I'm going to say these words as though they're meaningful to me. They aren't, but they could be meaningful to others. Kevin Durant, who plays on the Oklahoma, I want to say Thunders as a basketball team. I could be wrong. He just won the most valuable player. And he gives this speech to accept the award. And so I sit down with my son, with Yoni, and I say, let's watch this. Let's watch Kevin Durant speak. Let's see what he has to say. And the truth is that the way that this basketball player spoke was really a master lesson in Hakarat Tov. He said thank you to every single person. And the way that he said it is he singled out every single teammate that he had. And he gave an example about why they were wonderful for the team, for him personally. He thanked his mother, which is probably why I made my son watch it. But I wanted to get the point across of being makir tov, about being a gracious person, about being a person who really is appreciative for everything that he has. Certainly the age of teenagehood, 12 or 13, there might be an inclination by children, certainly not yours, but perhaps mine, to think that the world revolves around them. And so the way that I'm going to reach him is I'm going to say, let me talk about this guy. Let's take something that you're at, and let's do that. I'll give another example. And this, I would even say, stop watching me and go order this book right now. There's a wonderful book called Wonder. I forget who wrote it. P something something. I don't know. Maybe I'll get it to you. There's a wonderful book called Wonder. And I felt that for my children, it imparted lessons of such empathy and such kindness. There's my chesed word repeating itself. That I made them all read it. I read it. I made them all read it. I've made dozens of my friends buy it because it really internalizes this message of kindness and goodness and how sometimes it's hard. And I'd say at the time, I guess my daughter was 13, we made a book club. Me and my daughter and one of our favorite cousins, we all read the book separately and we met to talk about the book. That way I can take the lessons of chesed and I can put it in one of her favorite places, her cousin's house. And so we really want to approach a child from where they're at. When you have a young kid and Shavuot is coming and they don't understand it, so here's my plug, obviously. Head to chalacrums.com and print out a picture of Shavuot and let him color the picture. That's enough. Meaning you just sort of want to encourage those words and get them to understand the vocabulary. Shavuot, Matan Torah, getting the Torah, Har Sinai, right? You want it to be a simple story. As your children get older, you want to differentiate. You want to create the learning experience for your child that will be worthwhile. And so I would say for older children, Megillat Rut, right, the Megillah that we read on Shavuot, is wonderfully appropriate because it gives us all of these lessons of chesed, of kindness, of selflessness, and it does it in a way that is a curiosity, right? Ruth, who was not Jewish, who married a Jewish boy, who then died. So we already have, some kind of discussion about, somebody marrying a non-Jew. Yet she is so dedicated to her mother-in-law, Naomi. And she follows Naomi's footsteps, even when Naomi says not to. So it's a great teaching tool for kids who are a little bit older. Shavuot also sort of offers us this opportunity to learn. right? Very often people will stay up all night learning. Very often kids will either stay up part of the night, some of the night, none of the night. We'll learn a little bit, a lot of it, none of it. But we do have this built-in opportunity to sort of say to them, what are we going to learn? And I think even going into the holiday with a little bit of thought, every single child can have something to learn with a parent. So again, my youngest will just open up a Chumash with my husband and point out where the letter Aleph is, where the letter Bet is, where the letter Gimel is. And it's important for two reasons, maybe even three. The first reason is that we're creating a culture of learning. We're creating a culture where my 5-year-old feels validated because we're all sitting and learning. He gets to be part of that culture, which is probably point number 2, which is when you see that the older members of your family are learning, it's very hard as a young child to hear like, you're too young, maybe next year. So, even on the past Shabbat, my husband was studying with my son for his bar mitzvah. And he finished learning, and my 5-year-old stood up and said, well, now it's my turn. And he had to get the same chumash that my son, my 12-year-old, learned from, and he had to open the same chumash because you want to be part of that narrative. And part of it is about role modeling, which is, this is what we do. And it doesn't have to be on a high level. It can be on a very simple level. You can bring in very, very easy concepts because there are so many concepts in Shavuot that are worthy of discussion. And it's just about finding the one that will resonate with your child. My 10-year-old, so if I were to say, my older 2, I would probably talk about Megillat Ruth with, but I would say my 10-year-old, I would talk about maps, right? You have the map of where Bnei Israel left Mitzrayim, and the easy way that they could have just entered Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, but rather than doing that, they go, first of all, I know my nails are probably distracting, but it was Israel's Independence Day, and so I got painted so happy. I got distracted. I'm sorry, because I see it on my screen, and I realized, I probably should have taken it off. Anyway, my 10-year-old looks at a map and sees that instead of going from where they left Mitzrayim easily into the land of Israel, we go all the way down squiggly into the desert, into Har Sinai, and we go back up the desert and squiggle around a bit before going into Israel. And so there's this great discussion for an Indiana Jones obsessed child who follows maps and is curious about treasures, about where we go when we go on a journey and why we go that way. Again, it's not a difficult topic to broach, and there doesn't even need to be a significant amount of knowledge and let's open our Chumash and read from here, but just this question, what's significant about a journey? If I can go from point A to B quickly, why am I racing around in other ways? Again, every child you're going to find comes from a different place and is interested in different things. But to create a culture where we talk in that way and to role model those values is wonderful. On a craft level, because that's what we like doing around here, on a craft level, there are any number of things that can be done. Again, my plug, chalacrumbs.com, has a lot of different crafts, but I'll tell you a couple of easies. Because Shavuot is also an agricultural holiday, right? It's connected to the harvest. Because Shavuot is also an agricultural holiday, we focus a little bit on flowers. There's some kind of idea about the flowers at Har Sinai. People bring flowers into the house. I say the more the merrier. If you can get flowers by taking your family out on a hike on a Sunday morning and picking flowers, that's great because your child is going to take ownership over that craft. So they're going to go pick their flowers and you are going to go home and take a really large book and you're going to press those flowers for a while and you're going to have pressed flowers. Then you can easily, using contact paper, just make a bookmark of pressed flowers. You can actually, and this is a really easy one, which is great, you can take 2 plastic bowls and just take your pressed flowers and press them in between the bowls, seal the top of the bowl, and then you have a serving bowl with your child's pressed flowers in there. That's another easy one. Your child can make a centerpiece using real flowers or fake flowers, something that sort of understands the day and gets people excited about the day. Really, whatever encourages them, why not? That's sort of what you want to bring into the house. One of the things that Adina likes talking about, I think she mentions it most when she talks about creating a resilient child, is this idea of telling stories. When you can connect back to a history or to a sense of family or some finding your roots somewhere, the message becomes all that more powerful. And so both in Shavuot and in parenting, this idea can come into play. For Shavuot, we have two great stories that need to be told. We have the story of Matan Torah, we have the story of getting the Torah, and then we also have the story of Megillat Ruth, the story of Ruth coming back to Beit Lechem and the chesed that she does there. Both of those stories offer up a lot of life lessons for a child. But one of the reasons that we do it is because we really want our children to connect to the past, and we really want to find that deep connection, both with Jewish history and in our family. So one of the things that I would recommend, or that I enjoy doing, you can, do it or not. One of the things that we enjoy doing is really telling stories of Shavuot from the past. How did we celebrate Shavuot in Toronto? How did my husband celebrate it in Cleveland? How have we celebrated it in the past? Just to give this sense of, it's not a one-off, right? This is something that gets repeated again and again and again and sort of gets internalized as, this is what we do. This is our family's minhag. These are the traditions that we create. The same to be said with the story of Ruth. Telling the story of Ruth offers up lessons of chesed, offers up lessons of the importance of family, and that becomes a value that we have. So another thing that we do, either leading up to Shavuot, again, I come back to this idea of the more times you repeat it, the more it's getting into your child's subconscious. If they hear a story once and they enjoy it, that's great. But if the story is meaningful to them, often they'll ask for the story to be repeated again and again. I give evidence to the same episode of Diego that my kids have watched, countless amounts of time, because that's their story. And the same thing we're doing here is we're creating the story that they want to listen to. So over the next few weeks, you can bring in different elements of Matan Torah so that they really get a full picture of the story, what the hill looked like, who was on it, when they went, what they got, so they can fill in the story so that when Shavuot comes, they're truly ready for the story. And I guess, finally, there's no real discussion about Shavuot without this discussion of cheesecake, right? There's this idea that we eat halavi, that we eat dairy on Shavuot, or at least for some of the meals, if not all of the meals. And so, there's this great, again, teachable moment of when, there's always, or there often is, one kid who enjoys helping you cook in the kitchen or bake in the kitchen. And so we're baking something different. We're not doing chocolate chip cookies today. We're going to do our cheesecake today. Why? Oh, you know what? It is a minhag. It's a tradition that we eat cheesecake on these days. And so, here we are with our cheesecakes. There are plenty of recipes out there for great cheesecakes, but I will also say that there are plenty of recipes out there for really easy cheesecakes. And so you can really easily find a recipe on our site, on Martha Stewart, on, pretty much every site at this time period, to create that with your children in the kitchen. It's kind of hard to mess up on a cheesecake. My current favorite is my kid puts an Oreo cookie on the bottom of a muffin tin, and then you just pour a very easy cheesecake recipe on top. And so it's literally Oreo cheesecake smushed together. You can't really get anything bad out of that combination. But really, anything that you're doing on the days leading up to Shavuot is what your kids are internalizing, what they're enjoying, and what they're understanding from the holiday. So if I were to tap Adina on the shoulder and say, when we talk about our 10 commandments of parenting, I would add to those, coming from where I'm coming from, let's try not to miss out on teachable moments. Listen, we're parents. There are teachable moments that I fumble, I would say, 70 times a day. But when you've got an easy one sitting there staring at you in the face, change up your bedtime story so that we're talking about Matan Torah. Bring a craft project in where you're, using flowers in some creative way. Change your baking for a day so that you're baking with cheesecake. Buy a marker and write on your windows, Sfira to Omer. Those are all things that are really kind of easy to do, and not even all of them. Pick one, just so that your kid feels like your home is a home that's bringing in Shavuot. I think that's it. Thank you again to Adina. Thank you to the OU. And happy Shavuot to you all. Bye. Encouraging kids and finding the teachable moments throughout Shavuot that you can use with your kids. I always talk about the lead up into a holiday, and here, actually, my job is done for me. Because we have Sfirat Omer, because we're counting literally every single day until we reach Shavuot, we sort of have this built-in, easy way to remember the excitement of Shavuot. Friends of mine are throwing a bar mitzvah, and I pointed out to them that if you buy milk today, it will expire after the bar mitzvah is over. So this is a very exciting idea of anticipation. We're sort of looking forward to things. I remember as a child taking a would be to buy glass paint, the things that you can paint on your windows with, and then it easily wipes off. So I like, but I do not do. So let me be honest there. I really like the idea of having one kid write the number of sphira on the window in the kitchen every night. So the kids are looking at the window. Now I'm inspired. I feel like I should run out and buy a glass marker. I might. But I love this idea of, especially with younger kids who fall asleep before we can count sphira and then wake up. And then I love this idea of every day they come down and they see what number it is on the kitchen window, right? Book out of the library and being ecstatic to discover that by the time the due date arrived, I would have already turned a year older. So built into us, hardwired within us, even as adults, but let's put it over to the younger generation, built in within us as children is this this joy that we have of anticipation. We're always looking forward to something. And actually, one of the criticisms that the younger generation gets is that it's a younger generation of instant gratification. Perhaps you've noticed this with your children. They want what they want the minute that they want it. And everything seems defined by the last 30 seconds. Often I'll say to my husband, we had this great day with the kids. All in, very involved. Hi. This is Devorah Katz from chalacrumbs.com. So happy to be tag teaming it with Adina Sokoloff from Parenting Simply, talking about, the 10 commandments of child raising. I'm going to add a little bit of a different twist. Before we begin, my thanks, of course, to the OU for sponsoring this event, and for all of you who are giving up their lunch hour, or alternately, or just eating lunch while listening to me and Adina talk on and on. I guess for me, we're going to be talking about Shavuot and a couple of things that you can do to sort of usher the holiday in the most child-friendly way, sort of basketball outside, barbecue, whatever it is. But whatever happened in the last 30 seconds, that seems to be what matters to the kids. Can't think in a bigger picture. Yet here we really have this concept of looking forward to something, right? We're looking forward to Shavuot. We're looking forward to Chag Matan Torah, to the time that the Torah was given, and we are going to get excited about it with our kids. So there are many ways that we can do that. Obviously, we want to count Sfirat Omer with the kids, but I would say putting our expectations where they should be. It is definitely hard to remember to count Sfirat, to count all 49 days with your kids. Here are a couple of ideas how to be successful. One idea